for the people, I did it for us.
Back on this rap-ish, I ain't even broke a sweat, homie, this practice. Pondering my next move, staring at my track list, hope I ain't miss my window. Praying like a Baptist, Seattle's own, tired of this Game of Thrones. They made a list of the best rappers and guess who wasn't on? While the disrespect continues, I'm steady packing these venues. Guess if you ain't at the table, you on the menu, and I'm that spitter, baby. They don't want you to see, but everybody south of Capitol Hill's rocking with me. Boys smoke the trays and ponder getting their life together. I'm comfortable with my role, so I'm like, whatever. Me, I ain't got a job, but I work hard. And you don't work hard, but you got a job. The irony is I'm judged while you feel the applause. I'm slept on, that's why I had to set this alarm. My dudes is armed, I'm armed with this arm charm. Body banging like she got that cream from Barry Bonds. Yeah,
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
X-ray season is here, a real hitter with a mic, I'm everything that they fear. With that, hood ain't the same, I was all on their ass, I'm level-headed. So yo, my dudes love when I spaz, and I'm so over Seattle's passive-aggressive attitude. They don't call you back, what they really saying is F you. While I'm from the same place, I move at a different pace. I prefer if you just said it to my face, damn, I did it.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it
I hate
for
these
us.
average dudes with they average spit, writing average rhymes, knocking average chicks. The closer I get, I can feel the people starting to shift. I'm loyal to a fault, and everybody can't come with. Rap's a rich man's game, I'm only playing with change. They bang models and singers, I'm knocking my own flame, I'm different. The crowd, I move with the chosen few. Black thoughts, I could be the front man for the roots. No diamonds and gold, I'm on my sticks and stones. If we can see your panty line, you should have on a thong. My team is strong, through this fire we forged a bond. And they already know what it is when I get on to the hearse. Party like it's December 31st. When I'm on my deathbed, I probably cracking my nurse. You ain't got the bars to compete. I'm a verbal athlete, deflating these boys so they say that I cheat. Damn, I did it.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
Yeah. I should probably start by apologizing for the long wait, man. You know, I know I be tripping. But I'm not just a rapper, I'm an artist. And, you know, my creative process is a little bit different than most. Nonetheless, I want to welcome everybody out to the Dre's Experience. I got TCF in the building. My whole camp's here with me. I got the band in here laying this cool-ass vibe. And I'm Seattle's own. Let's get into it.
Welcome, everybody. Happy Tuesday to all of you out there. Welcome to the Morning Update Show. I am your co-host, Trey Holiday. And you guys know we do this as a team. Me and my guy, Big O. What's up, Big O? Happy Tuesday.
Yeah. I mean, happy Tuesday, Trey Holiday. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Good.
You know, I want to welcome everybody to the Morning Update Show. As usual, it's a great opportunity for you to tag and share the stream. Tag and share the stream with people who you feel could appreciate culturally relevant news and information emanating from right here in the Emerald City. Today, I think, you know, we need to just go deeper into this discussion around police violence, around, what it's like to be Black and intersecting, interacting with the police. You know, the National Association of Black Journalists gave guidelines to Black reporters and like therapy hotline and everything else because of the added trauma that Black media people have reporting on this George Floyd trial. And he said the people are actually watching the trial every day. You've seen George Floyd murdered over 100 times. You know what I'm saying? And you know, this has been impactful, man. And it's crazy because in a way, I've been more impacted by a lot of these things outside of Seattle than even in Seattle, you know. And I guess maybe because here in Seattle, and even covering the Seattle protests, the Seattle Police Department kicking the shit out of us, tear gas in the press, flashbang in the press, rubber bullets, all this other stuff. I had like my journalist professional hat on or whatever. I'm like, man, I'm intentionally put myself in harm's way to cover this. But then you see these stories across America that come out, and I just got my regular black man hat on, yo. And this shit is impactful, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Anyways, first up, CBS. This is update from the Derek Chauvin trial.
Just 10 miles down the road from where Dante Wright was killed, the Derek Chauvin trial continues today with the defense set to present its arguments. Yesterday, Chauvin's attorney raised concerns over how the Brooklyn Center unrest could affect the jury. Jamie Yukas is outside the courthouse in Minneapolis for us. Jamie, good morning to you.
Good morning, Tony. After more than 2 weeks, the prosecution is expected to rest its case today. Yesterday, prosecutors focused on appealing to the jury's emotions and put George Floyd's younger brother on the stand.
He just knew how to make people feel better.
Heartbreaking testimony from George Floyd's younger brother, Philonis.
He showed us like how to treat our mom and how to respect our mom. He loved her so dearly. I miss both of them.
Jurors listened as he described growing up with his big brother and the joy he brought their family.
He was so much of a leader to us. He used to make the best banana mayonnaise sandwiches, and he used to make syrup sandwiches because George couldn't cook.
CBS News legal analyst Ricky Kleeman says the younger Floyd was used as what's called a spark of life witness, meant to show the jury just how much George Floyd's life impacted others.
I think George Floyd's brother influenced the jury in all kinds of ways. This is obviously very, very painful for him and for his family. And jurors are people. They can feel that kind of pain.
Earlier on the stand, cardiologist Jonathan Rich echoed previous testimony and said George Floyd's heart stopped because of low oxygen levels caused by ex-officer Derek Chauvin's actions. Before the trial resumed Monday, the defense asked to sequester the jury because of the fatal police shooting of Dante Wright.
I think brings it to the forefront of the jury's mindset that a verdict in this case is going to have consequences.
But the judge denied the motion, a move Ricky Kleeman disagrees with.
They can't get away from it when they go to the courthouse, and they can't get away from it when they go home. It seems the only reasonable thing to do would have been to have sequestered them on Monday.
The defense is expected to begin part of the case today. It's not clear how many people it'll call to testify or if Chauvin himself will take the stand. The judge told the jury it should expect closing arguments this coming Monday, and jurors will be sequestered once deliberations begin. Anthony?
Jamie Yukas in Minneapolis. Thanks, Jamie.
It's tough.
Man, I'd be so angry. And it's a challenge to be here on air and doing this news show. It's a challenge. I'm like, man, how can we give the fairest platform possible? How can we be fair? And you know what I'm saying? And even here, excuse me, here, even throughout the Seattle protests and everything else, it's like, how can we give space and everything else? And it's at this point, man, it's like when we look at this trial, I mean, let alone, of course, the family and everybody else, but even as Black media, this shit is traumatizing, man. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, damn, people just, they don't get it. Man, George Floyd was dead for 3 minutes, and 3 minutes after he died, dude's knee was still on his neck. And you feel like it's the knee on our neck. You know what I'm saying? It's the knee and Trey Holiday.
It is tough. We talk about it after the show, but we try not to go too deep because we know the next day we got to talk about it again, and we have to be here again for our community, doing community news, reporting on things like this, reporting on white kids getting off when they threaten to kill our babies, reporting on Black folks dying constantly dying, gun violence, police brutality. It gets to a point where you're like, man, at what point will the scales tip enough to where people are like, you know what, like, we really can't do this anymore. We really can't do this. I mean, every time I listen to the defense attorney for Derek Chauvin, I think, how can you even do this? I know it's your job. I get it. But I also don't get it. How the hell can you be there talking about the drugs in George Floyd's system, talking about how it's like he did this to himself, talking about how the people who were just there vouching for George Floyd caused so much concern for the officer's life that he had no choice but to keep the knee on the neck. I mean, this has all been difficult. And it's not just George Floyd. We keep seeing it. We keep seeing it. We keep seeing it. I think about almost every death that we have experienced through the public, that we have seen in terms of police. Now we got Daunte Wright because she thought she was pulling her taser. And I'm like, does the taser and the gun feel the same? I mean, I'm just mind blown by all of this. Oh,
you know, the thing is, Trey Holiday, that it's crazy because the defense attorney, like, man, it ain't a job I would have ever took. But, you know, that one person, that one guy doing like his job, right? I don't agree with his tactics, but it's all the millions of other people in America. You see what I'm saying? The very same people, Trey Holiday, they will sit there and tell you that those were just patriots there at that insurrection on January 6th. Oh, those were just, you know, patriots. People loved America, you know, are the same people. So they'll humanize that criminal activity there, but they'll dehumanize George Floyd. The same thing happening here with Daunte Wright. They're like, you know, said, well, he had a misdemeanor warrant for marijuana. It's crazy. Look at our country. It wouldn't even probably been a warrant here in the state of Washington, but a misdemeanor warrant. You know, and so now here goes the spiral down to say X, Y, and Z about this young man. You know what I'm saying? Please play clip number 2.
With the growing outrage over the death of Daunte Wright in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota, for 2 nights in a row, there have been clashes between police and protesters demanding justice for Wright, who was shot and killed by a police officer during a traffic stop. Newly released body cam footage shows what unfolded. Police say the officer involved meant to reach for her taser, and they're calling it an accident. Omar Villafranca is in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota for us. Omar, good morning to you. We've been tracking the pictures overnight. What's it like there this morning?
Well, good morning. It's quiet now, but police and National Guard are still here after another night of protests where about 40 people were arrested. We also now know a name, the officer who shot Wright. Her name is Kim Potter. She's a 26-year veteran of the police department, and the police chief is telling us that when she meant to grab her taser, but instead she grabbed her handgun.
My heart is literally broken into 1,000 pieces, and I can never get that back because of a mistake, because of an accident.
At a vigil for her son, Daunte Wright's mother remembered him as a funny and playful father. Those tributes echoed by China Whitaker, the mother of Wright's son, Daunte Jr.
I didn't get to say goodbye to him. And just to see him again.
As darkness fell on Brooklyn Center, clashes between protesters and police continued outside their headquarters. The unrest followed the release of body cam video showing the moments leading up to Wright's death. After pulling Wright over for an expired registration tag, officers learned he had an outstanding warrant stemming from 2 misdemeanor charges. When the officers tried to handcuff Wright, he struggled to get back in his car. That's Officer Kim Potter yelling she will tase Wright. But instead, she's holding her gun, which she then fires. Wright traveled a few blocks before crashing into another car. He died at the scene. Brooklyn Center Police Chief Tim Gannon.
From what I viewed and the officer's reaction and distress immediately after, that this was an accidental discharge that resulted in the tragic death of Mr. Wright. I needed to be transparent, and I want to be forthright.
Officer Potter has been placed on administrative leave, but some people are calling for her badge, including Mayor Mike Elliott.
We cannot afford to make mistakes that lead to the loss of life of other people in our profession.
President Biden chimed in yesterday and is urging protesters to remain calm and peaceful. And keep in mind, this is all happening just a few miles from where the trial of former police officer Derek Chauvin is facing murder charges for the killing of George Floyd. And we also learned that the Wright family and the Floyd family are going to have a joint press conference later on this afternoon. Anthony?
Omar, you mentioned that Officer Kim Potter is a 26-year veteran of the force. What else do we know about her?
Well, as we mentioned, 26-year veteran of the force, and the Star Tribune is also reporting that she has been a police union boss. And another thing, too, is that she was a training officer and was training another officer that day. So one of the big questions that remains is, as a training officer, how could she not tell the difference between a heavy loaded handgun and a much lighter taser?
Well, that is the question, Omar. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm tired of us always being the accident. We're always the mistake. You know what I'm saying? And somehow, I mean, I be trying, people watch the morning update show. I really be trying to keep things apples to apples and oranges to oranges, man. But, this shit is crazy. Like, this guy, Devin, what's the guy's name? Killed 9 people at the church in South Carolina. Yeah. Walked out just in Colorado the other day. You know what I'm saying? The guy down there in Atlanta who shot up the massage spots. You know what I'm saying? On and on, man. There's never a mistake with these people. Never. You know what I'm saying? I mean, a mistake, dog. They're like, oh, okay, we're urging protesters to be calm. Like, man, you know me. I'm not really on the whole property destruction and this and that. But, man, I'm not calm. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I'm not calm. I mean, and Biden had to come with some tweet. Biden's out of touch. They asked him what's the verdict he's looking for. Oh, I'm looking for Biden. He was looking for a verdict that people will find, blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? This is an outrage, what keeps happening. It's an outrage.
It's just constant. And when you talked about the protesters that were there, the destroyers going into the Capitol, whatever we're calling them, at the end of the day,
they had insurrectionists, enemies of America.
They had no presence there. But when people were there protesting for Black lives, a ton of police,
National Guard, everything.
Police. When people are just trying to say we matter, we are here, we are human, actually take some type of care about us. That's all people were there to say. And yet there's tons of police. When you have constant examples of the racial bias that really permeates our country, man. You cannot keep on claiming it's one thing when it's not. You can't keep doing it. We do not see the droves of numbers where it is white men being stopped, white men being killed in front of their babies, being shot in the back.
Was in the
We're not seeing it time and time again with white people. We are just constantly inundated with the images and the examples of how they do not care about Black lives. It's just it just permeates the air at this point. And
the thing is that people, it's funny. Actually, this is a good opportunity to address a few things, right? With our audience. We get a lot of people, who who come into the comments and they're like, well, why is it always about black or white or this and that? You're watching a black network, okay? And you're not going to go over there to the Vietnamese Times or the Asian News or the Seattle Gay News. You're not going to go to Seattle Gay News and be like, man, how come you're always talking about gay issues? How come there's nothing something straight? You're not going to go over to the Vietnamese news or anywhere else. But how come us black people get our black network to push our black news of things that are relevant to black people, and you want to sit here and be like, well, how come it's always about black? Can we have our own shit, please?
Yeah. I mean, period. And that is literally why we're unapologetic about it. At the end of the day, this news is centered around black issues. And yes, we have a wide amount of you who view this, who are in the audience that are non-black. We get it. But you also understand that we're coming with an authentic approach. We're coming with ourselves authentically every single day for all of you guys. And it is a lot. You know, this is literally why I left King 5. I was there when I saw tragedy after tragedy after tragedy, man. And it was like, my God, I'm taking that home with me. And you're trying to just leave it in the office. You're trying to be like, you know what? I'm here to like do my production work around these stories. But you're right. Oh, a lot of the times we hold on to it. We're carrying it. And it's not something that is easy to do.
But this is what I'm saying, is that there's, in almost all of these stories here, and we got two more clips. These things here, the other thing is we see ourselves as somebody we know. And that, you know, it's people that we know that could have been a George Floyd. You see what I'm saying? It's people we know could have been a Dante Wright. It's people we know could have been a Lieutenant Nazario. You see what I'm saying? And then on top of that, it's like, it stays with us. You know, and we talk about this here, that I wish we had the luxury. I mean, there's so many people who report on these issues who still have the luxury of a disconnect.
Yeah.
You know, and I had a conversation yesterday, and I was like, man, the thing is that white America knows that these rights are theirs. Black America, we struggle and struggle and struggle for America to just love and accept us enough just to be equal. And we hold out hope against hope that, man, we'll just be treated fair, to just be treated equal. We hold out so much hope. You know, and time and again, hope is diminished. And it's like with us, our change could only come so incrementally. You know what I'm saying? Tick, tick, tick. So incrementally. And then it gets pushed back right away. Look at all that went into the Voting Rights Act. And then all of a sudden, we're not going to renew it. Look at all these things that incrementally to get, you know, for 100 years, voter suppression reigned hard in the South. And then all through Jim Crow, there's never not been voter suppression in America to hold back the black vote. And incrementally there, knocking on every door, man, you have to vote, get out and vote. Guys get out and vote, they win something, look what happens. You see what I'm saying? Look what happens.
Yeah, it's just constant. It permeates every fabric of the society that we are in. And oftentimes for me, I'm always like, you know what? Let me keep my peace. Let me keep my composure. Let me hold on to what is naturally there, which is my peace. And it does get more and more challenging when it's one thing after another, after another, after another. And I'm telling you, we've seen way too many examples of what we know to be status quo, which is always against us, no matter what. No matter how good a police officer thinks they are, how well they seem to be trained. Here she was training another officer. Here she was training another young officer and still had some era of doubt around, this is a heavy thing in my hand. Can I look down? Even if she would have done that, I mean, we can see on the body cam footage, we can see that that's a gun. Guns and tasers are not the same shape. They're not the same thing. This is why I'm like, how does this happen? And how can they say, you know, you could have said taser all day long. You can't tell me you didn't know you were holding your gun. And then immediately they're like, oh no, I just shot him. I mean, that was the distraught nature that was going to bring Dante's life back for his family.
Yeah, and you know, fundamentally what a problem is, there's so many people in America that just want to make black people wrong.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like me, I went to historically black college down in North Carolina. I got lots of friends. They graduated from college there. I got 2 friends that are sheriffs down there in counties of North Carolina. They're police officers and everything else. I know lots of police. You know what I'm saying? Especially down south. And especially multi-generation. My family been down there, from way back when. Lots of people, law enforcement. And you know what? People, and this is the thing is, people would much rather say that all these black people are wrong than to be able to say that the police could act differently. You know, something came out here in Seattle, and a lot of it was skipped over and everything else. But the Office of Professional Accountability, the OPA, the one thing they did sustain was that on June 1st, when they threw the tear gas, that was sustained. They were like, you're not supposed to just tear gas people. Mm-hmm. See, I mean, police, they mess up. But you got a whole group of people out there, whatever the police said, that it must be right, that it must be this, it must be that. Even the police admitted. And actually, the chief of police and that officer there resigned this morning. They resigned probably like 15, 20 minutes ago. Mm. So, you know what I'm saying? They resigned from the position. And you saw the chief yesterday crying. He was sitting there crying. You know, and I mean, another thing here is just real interesting. Is that when all this was there in the neighborhood, you know what I'm saying, and a crowd had drawn there, the first thing that the police did was send in the officers with tactical gear. Yeah. And that police chief was talking about he's a leader. Why don't you lead your ass up there in front in your dress blues? I mean, that's what I'm saying. The next time if there's another Western barricade, instead of getting the state police in here, fire off at people, it'd be so good to see Chief Diaz out there in his blues. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You want to talk to people, let's talk. You want to de-escalate, let's de-escalate. So watching that, it was people's mamas out there de-escalating because the police ain't know how to do it.
Well, there we go again. Oh, that's what I'm talking about when we're talking about how they can take different measures. We mentioned this when we were talking about the Tacoma sheriff that ran through the crowd of people. At the end of the day, you could have got on your bullhorn. You could have talked them down, said, look, guys, we understand that you guys are out here. I need you guys to move, you know, so that I can get through. Have a conversation with people. This is what we're talking about. There's always different measures, but here we are. We sit here and we report on stories for all of you guys out there that really showcase racial bias time and time again. When we see a sheriff being able to call and get 42 police officers because a black man is trying to deliver papers. Like, this is what we're up against every single day as black folks.
You can't, look at this guy, the guy in Tacoma. You can't deliver newspaper while black. You know what I'm saying? You get the sheriff. You get the sheriff who puts in an emergency call.
Claiming his life was on the line.
Out there working, delivering newspaper. But you know what? This is number 4, oh yeah. You know what? In Los Angeles, you can't even take out the trash while black.
Newly released body camera footage of Los Angeles police arresting a black man who was simply taking out the trash. TJ Holmes talked to Antone Austin and his girlfriend about the incident, and he joins us now with more. Good morning, TJ.
Good morning, Stray. And add now to the lexicon of hashtags, taking out the trash while black. We're about to show you video of an incident that took place nearly 2 years ago, but we're only seeing it now as part of a racial profiling lawsuit against the LAPD. Many parts of this you will find disturbing and chilling to hear police admit as they're arresting this man that we don't know who we're looking for.
You're hearing the desperate screams of Antone Austin, a black man who was simply taking out his trash when 2 Los Angeles police officers approached to arrest him. Relax! This newly released body cam footage shows part of the disturbing incident from May of 2019. The LAPD was responding to a domestic violence call. But police spot Austin from their vehicle taking out his trash and listen as they decide to approach him.
around because I told you to. Turn around.
What are you doing, bro? I live here.
All right, we got a call. Okay, man. I don't know who I'm looking for yet. Come on, step. Turn around, man. What is your problem, dude?
You hear the officer admit he doesn't have a suspect description, but continues to arrest Austin, who continues to question the police. Tensions rise.
Michelle! Michelle!
Dude, what are you doing?
Austin yells for help. His girlfriend says she heard Austin's screams from the shower and rushed outside, trying to intervene, and ends up in the struggle and is disrobed in the process.
Stop! For what? What are you taking it for?
Both were arrested. The couple is now suing the city of Los Angeles.
What was your reaction once you went back and actually saw it all play out and you got to actually hear the officers in the car before they got out?
In your mind, you want to say to yourself, you know, the first thing, this happened because I'm black. And then you won't want to be that petty. You don't want to be that small. We don't want to really believe that people's thinking is really that on that low of a scale, right? And then when you watch the footage and you hear the guy in the car, you know, like the girl in the 911 call told them to go to a restaurant that was 3 blocks away from my house.
Austin's neighbor, who made that initial 911 call about her ex-boyfriend, did not give a description of him to the dispatcher. That neighbor can be seen in the video telling the officers Austin was not the man she called about, but they continue with the arrest. The attorney for Austin calls this a clear case of racial profiling.
Police should not roll up and immediately think that this person is a criminal. And unfortunately, that's exactly what LAPD did.
Neither Los Angeles police nor city attorneys are commenting to ABC News. Austin fought for the release of this footage and says he's relieved the public now gets to see what he went through.
It's crazy that they can just convict you when they're supposed to be there to act mediator, there to serve, protect, find out what's going on. You know, that they in their minds are the judge and the jury, and they're going to convict you on the spot based off what you look like. It's really eye-opening, you know. It changed the way I look at a lot of things.
The city of Los Angeles did fight the release of that video, saying it would have a chilling effect on investigations, police investigations down the road, and it was against policy anyway. Now, Tone and his girlfriend have since moved from that neighborhood. They are seeking $3 million in damages, but they also simply want an apology, which they have not got. And guys, one other thing, their attorney says that the suspect the police were actually after was a white male.
Are you serious?
We could start with an apology, which the citizens of Seattle still ain't never got for getting tear gassed. But anyways, onto the story here. It was just taking out his trash. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my God.
And LAPD fought so hard. They ain't want, like they said, they ain't want to release the tape.
Oh my, yeah. You know what? At the end of the day, that body cam footage is damning to all hell, to be honest. They know that they were in the wrong. They understood it from the gate. The fact that they have not just simply apologized is because, again, this PR campaign around let's protect ourselves, protect ourselves, because if we apologize, it's like admitting that we're wrong, and then maybe they'll just get the lawsuit. This is what's ridiculous. This is this is what's ridiculous. This is what we're talking about. Is that all of these systems that are set up are not for transparency. They're not really about community safety. They're not really about doing the work that they're setting out to do. Ultimately, there's so many layers of protection around the police. Here they are. We're just now seeing it almost 2 years later. And if he had been pressured enough to stop fighting for this, to stop asking for the footage, none of us would even see this or know about this case in general. We wouldn't.
And most people probably wouldn't believe him. Hey, bro, you must have done something, man. I mean, the police just ain't going to arrest you if you ain't done nothing. No, I didn't do anything. I was just taking out my trash. Why are you lying, dog? You had to been doing it. Would nobody believe him?
No. And the thing is there, as they're pulling up to him and they say, this guy, this dude. And then they're just like, probably. Yeah. Like, at the end of the day, they had no idea what they were looking for. The fact that the woman who called them in the first place came out and said, this is not the dude. I mean, I'm going to tell y'all this right now, and I've never shared this. Okay, my family suffered police brutality on my property of my parents' house. My father called for somebody else. And do you know when they got there and they saw my father, a big black man, strong in stature, they went after my dad. And my dad said, I'm the one that called you. I was asking you to get this person off my property. But instead, what did they do? They tased my dad. They tried to arrest my dad. That's exactly what happened. So the truth is that, so many of us, Omari has shared how he was physically beaten, him and his brothers beaten by the police, laughing, making jokes, being straight bullies toward these young guys as they were teenagers and young men because they were black, looked like they was doing something wrong. At the end of the day, man, we suffer this stuff for real, man. This is our lived experience here in America, bruh.
Yeah. And so you cue up number 3. And so, they say George Floyd said that he was on drugs. This Deontay White, 2 misdemeanor warrants. This brother here was just taking out his trash. But damn, what if you really are an American patriot?
One of the police officers involved in a controversial traffic stop of a black and Latino Army officer in December has been fired. Body camera footage shows Windsor, Virginia police officers Joe Gutierrez and Daniel Crocker pointing their guns at Army Second Lieutenant Karan Nazario before Gutierrez pepper sprays him. Lieutenant Nazario was released without being charged, and he is now suing both officers. CBS News correspondent Christina Raffini has the story.
What's going on?
How many occupants are in your vehicle?
It's only myself. Why are your weapons drawn? What's going on?
The door slowly and step out.
Get out! Get out the car!
Get out now!
I have not committed any crime.
In body camera and cell phone video, Army Second Lieutenant Karan Nazario, still in his uniform, holds his hands out the window of his new car, while 2 Windsor, Virginia police officers, guns drawn, order him to get out.
I'm honestly afraid to get out. Can I?
Yeah, you should be. Get out of the car now. Get out of the car.
Get your hands off me, please. Get your hands off me.
You know what?
Get your hands off me. Get your hands off me. I didn't do anything. Don't do that.
Nazario repeatedly asks why he's been pulled over before ex-officer Joe Gutierrez pepper sprays him through the open window.
Sir, just get out the car.
I'm trying to breathe. Ugh. My dog is in the back. My dog is choking right now.
Get out of the car.
Nazario is then kicked, forced to the ground, and put in handcuffs.
Why am I being treated like this? Why?
You're not cooperating.
The incident report says Nazario was pulled over for not having tags displayed on his SUV. But the temporary dealer plate is visible in the officer's body cam video. The report also said officers treated it as a high-risk stop because Nazario had tinted windows and drove at a very low speed to a gas station before pulling over, a move Gutierrez later said he understood.
As far as you not stopping and because you weren't comfortable and you wanted a well-lit spot, Lieutenant, that happens with all of us.
He did everything that we are told to do for everyone's safety.
Attorney Jonathan Arthur represents Nazario.
When you look in your rearview mirror and you see 2 firearms trained at you, you got to get real calm, real quick if you want to get out of there alive. It's a credit to his training.
What are you, a specialist, Corporal? What are you?
I'm a lieutenant.
According to the lawsuit, the officers also threatened to derail Nazario's military career if he pursued further action against them.
If you want to just chill, let this go, and no charges filed, we'll take the handcuffs off, we'll get you a bottle of water you can drink on, and sit here until you feel comfortable driving.
Now, after that search of his vehicle turned up no violations, Nazario was released without charge. The governor of Virginia has asked state police to investigate the incident. CBS News reached out to the Windsor Police Department. We did not hear back. Anthony Nazario's attorney said he wanted to file the lawsuit to hold these 2 officers accountable, and so these kinds of stops stop happening.
Man, I used to live in Virginia Beach. I'm going to tell you, the Commonwealth of Virginia and them towns and the state police and everything, man, it was... Trey Holiday.
This is exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, here you have a lieutenant, serving this country. And even as they see that, they still have their guns drawn. They still are coming up on him as if he's some type of a major suspect that they're looking for. He fits the description of some drug kingpin or something else. At the end of the day, there's no excuses. There's none. This is why people are like, hey, what can we do in terms of different tactics? Because the police have gone awry. You know, it's incremental. I heard what Tiffany Washington said, right? Where it's like, look, you can't defund by 50% immediately. But yes, there needs to be some different measures here because the ways that the abuse of police authority has been abused, the ways that we see it playing out, that right there, that officer thought that he was going to be able to talk to this man after pepper spraying him and all of this other stuff and stopping him for no reason whatsoever. And then being like, you just want to drop all this, you know, we'll give you a bottle of water, we'll let you go. Like as if that was going to be able to suffice for what he just experienced. That's traumatic, man.
Listen, let me tell you something. That's the Commonwealth of Virginia. And when you talk about police authority being abused, the police were created there to abuse Black people. So, you know what I'm saying? This is like, see this right here, this is what I'm saying, is like we got 4 different clips to show people on what level do you want it? Do you want, okay, here's George Floyd, here, he was on opioids, whoa, here's Dante Wright, here's Warren. What about this guy here in LA?
Right.
Taking out his trash. What about Lieutenant Nazario? And there's other clips where you hear the audio, though, more audio. So the officer there was like, you better obey me, boy. You need to obey. You know what I'm saying? And man, it was wild. You know what I'm saying? And this dude, this is the guy you really want to be with when it goes down because he's cool as a fan. And that's the whole thing, though. You know, these are these talks. We talk about the talk. I'm going to give you the talk.
Yes.
Every day. There's very few Black people I've ever run into in America. There's somebody, their parents or somebody ain't give them that talk. Police pull up. Make sure you keep your hands visible. And see, this is another thing that happened right here was you had conflicting messages. There was one officer saying, let me see your hands, and another one saying, get out the car. You know what I'm saying? There was one, let me see your hands. Another one, let me get out the car. Now, people that follow the city of Seattle, they ended up settling this case with the Che Taylor estate. But that was a big thing there is because you had conflicting directions from the armed officers. You know what I'm saying? One of them was like, put your hands up. The other ones get on the ground. And then Che Taylor gets shot. And, man, they really felt that couldn't be reconciled in court. They ended up settling the case.
Yeah.
So you see this guy here, and how many times, and I'm going to tell you, that's another thing too. You don't never, if you see a lighted space, a lit space somewhere down near Virginia, North Carolina, like I said, I went to school down south, know them back roads. That's one of the things. But if you could make it to a gas station, to a lit area or something, do that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He put on his signals, his blinkers to indicate that he sees the officer there. And he's going forward to a lit location. And you see the approach. I'd be wondering how the police be so scared of everyday people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like it's the wrong profession to be in. You see all this aggro, this and that. It's like, come on, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we get the aggression.
Yeah, you know, literally, as you were just talking there about that talk, I'm thinking about my 15-year-old son who wants to start driving, right? And literally there is a feeling of immediately of like, oh man, you know, my son driving, like, let me be at peace always, let me be at peace. But just thinking about the fact that when you have young people driving, young Black men in particular, that it also heightens the ability for police to stop them in this regard. He had his temporary plates out, still got pulled over because they said his plates were invisible. The fact that they are afraid or thinking there's a high risk here because he has tinted windows it's just like anything, man, anything that they could possibly say to then elevate their heightened sense of awareness around this particular stop is ridiculous. But all of us who have young men, young Black babies that we're raising, we think about all of the areas and ways that they could be stopped by police. When my son is just playing basketball with his basketball buddies, I'm like, hey, you be safe out here. Because if you guys are walking to the store in a crew, you know, who knows? The police may think you guys are doing something else and they want to pull you over. You guys got to be careful when you guys go into the store together. We don't want nobody to even think you're stealing, knowing that you're not shoplifters, none of you. But we don't want nobody to get the wrong idea about your presence in any place. Because your presence in any place, especially when you're gathered, it causes attention.
Your mama tell you, you go into the store, make sure your hands ain't in your pocket.
That's
Don't
right.
pick up anything that you're not going to buy. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I mean, it's all these things. You know, you get put over and stopped. Officer, I would like to go into my glove compartment here to be able to retrieve my items. You don't do no random movements in the car. Like this, it was crazy. It was years. And, you know, I gave my son the same talk that my mom and my dad gave to me. And, you know, because it's still so relevant and prevalent to today when we run-ins with the police. And, you know, man, I had to last night, I'll be honest with you, Trey Holiday. Last night, I was, I really reached a breaking point. You know what I'm saying? And that it's like, because I'm one of them people. If people can't tell, I'm the eternal optimist. Like, oh man, if we decide, how can we have conversation? How can we have communication? And all of this news impacting at one time, it's like, people should understand. It's why we can't breathe. Man, I was claustrophobic last night. Called my mama. I was like, yo, I just can't breathe. And this is what it's like here. And people watching this show, especially white people, you should know that there's a pretty good chance that maybe your black coworker, he can't breathe. Your bus driver, he can't breathe. You just, this feeling, man. You know, and I mean, we try our very best and we're just beat down by this thing. Beat down. And it's organized communication to dehumanize who we are. Man, in a country that's never seen us as human, then on paper, 3/5, that's just to settle the dispute of representation in Congress and things like that, taxation. We're going to make these niggas 3/5 of a human being. From 3/5, we've never been made whole. We've never been made whole citizens in this country. Because you see, there's ink on paper. But ink on paper, you can't legislate people's heart condition. You can't legislate what's in people's soul. And there's so much hate in this nation towards black people just because we're black. And people should know, you watch the morning update show. I'm not an exclusionary person. I'm not a this and that. I'm big on personal responsibility. I'm like, man, because we're going to do it anyway. You know what I'm saying? But I know, man. And you feel it. And more now, this hate, it comes to the surface here. And people talk, look what people are talking about. They're talking about, man, we just want you to know our lives matter. That's it. That our lives matter. And you know what's crazy? This is how much white America hates black people. That is, even when you say your life matters. Oh, well, these guys are terrible. All these things. I mean, it's like on Real Deal 1 year ago when Morning Update show. We wasn't with the Asian hate shit from jump. We are one of our first segments. We was down there in Chinatown like, this and we ain't with this. And even May 29th, the first day of the protest, when they was down there tearing up Chinatown, I was the only voice of reason who was down there like, hold up, man. What are you guys over here doing? You see what I'm saying? But it's no way no one's going to say, well, stop all hate. No, because we know that, yes, all hate should stop, but we need to elevate what's going on with Asian hate. But it's crazy when we elevate to just say that Black people matter. Look at the response.
It's been tough, man. It's been beyond tough, to be honest with you. And we both have children. And we both know that at some point they'll have children. And we think about how their babies are going to be received. And we know what our upbringing has been. I've always been followed in stores because they thought I was going to steal. It was just something I grew up with, knowing that that was going to happen. I have had to witness so many countless people that I know deal with police brutality, deal with racial bias, myself included, as we try to work our fingers to the bone to be at the same level, to be respected in the same regard as our white colleagues or even our Asian colleagues. We have always had to be the best in the class. It was something that was taught to me from a young age. You know, get to know your teachers. Let them like you and know your personality, because that's going to take you further. Not just be a good student, but you got to be all the things. Not just be a good worker. You got to be all the things, all the things, all the time, all the things for all people. And yet we still are not looked at as equal. We're still fighting for equity in all sectors of this country, period, point blank. It has not stopped. The fact that we have clearly seen how they said, oh, the Black Lives Matter protesters, they were destroying property and they were doing this and that. Yet nobody was calling out these insurrectionists entering the Capitol, breaking down windows, busting through windows and doors, going up into people's offices, putting their feet all up. They were celebrating their insurrection, celebrating it. And yet here we are again, constantly saying we matter. During the civil rights era, they were just saying, just be civil with us.
Just be civil.
Nothing is extreme or what they are considering radical. Even the Black Panthers, they were like, we just have to protect ourselves. We just have to protect our neighborhood. And they came in and they killed them. They killed them. Tulsa. We're about to be celebrating a 100-year anniversary of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Tulsa, finally, they said, you know what? We're going to have our own town. We're going to build our own town. And they bombed it. And they bombed it just because they didn't want to see Black people thriving, Black people being successful, Black people doing what they need to do for other Black people. It's been a constant attack on us because we are Black here in this country.
And you know, so much, a lot of the stuff. So that's what, so much stuff people can see on the face level, on the street level, interaction with the police, things like that. But you know, when you mentioned Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Black Wall Street, that was them guys going. They burned the town down, killed all those Black people, burned down the business district, right? And they killed a business district. It's for another show. But if you look at the history of transportation in America, so many Black business districts is exactly where they put the freeway through. You know what I'm saying? The U.S. interstate system. So, you know, whether it's them burning down the houses or putting a freeway right through, go there in North Carolina. These towns, you got a freeway right there, split up the Black community, split Black, business districts. I'll say this, Trey Holiday, is that, it's a challenge. I told my mom this morning, I was like, it's a lot. This is too much. You know what I'm saying? Like, I never wanted to be doing the news.
Yeah.
You know? Probably one reason is because, man, I feel too deeply. You know what I'm saying? It's like, man, this is a business for someone with thick skin. Never wanted to, we were just supposed to be on air for a few months. COVID update show. Here we are, a year into it and everything else. But man, it's just a lot, man. And it's a lot just being black guy. But then when it's like my responsibility to our viewers is to continuously report on these things. That's why I said National Association of Black Journalists was like, yo, this shit is traumatizing the black journalists. It's real. And I've been to stay above the fray. I've been isolating myself in a sense. But last night I stepped out my bubble and found out that it really ain't that much oxygen out there. And I know, like I said, that we can't breathe, man. Something's got to change.
Something's got to change immediately, man. This is why, when we talk to all the people that come here, all these candidates for everything, we're always so specific about what are you going to do about the Black conditions, the conditions of Black people. Honestly, it's not just about the police. It is in every single sector of what is out there. We talk about being excluded from the port. We talked about being excluded from large procurement opportunities as Black business people. We talk about the fact that the education system specifically targets our students. And then here we are. We see it time after time. One research after another research that shows every single time Black folks on the bottom, Black folks at the bottom, Black students at the bottom, Black youth at the bottom. At the end of the day, there is something that needs to be awakened in the collective consciousness of all of the people here to understand it is time right now for real elevation of our humanity, our sense of care, who we really are on the inside. This is what I'm talking about. Oh, I agree with you 100%. It's been very challenging for you and I to do this. Everybody in this country right now is watching the George Floyd murder over and over and over and over again. And it does not get any easier, period. No matter how many times you watch it, doesn't get any easier to deal with the fact that that Black man was dying before all of our eyes. Every time we see some type of shooting go wrong, this and this and that, we've seen it time and time again. We just showed you some examples right here today of how permeating this is for all of us, man. It really is. And the only way that we've been able to even sustain is by staying positive, keeping a positive disposition, staying peaceful, going to a real spiritual place, because that's the only way that I can get up and do this again the next day. And we love our audience. We love y'all so much for supporting us, being here with us every day, watching, tagging, sharing the stream, donating, everything. But we had to be real with you today. It has not been easy for either of us, period.
I'll be honest with you, Trey. Man, I really don't want to do this anymore. I really think that, that there's a higher purpose. People got to realize there's like, before I came back home, there was programming, distribution. I used to do TV in like 43 countries. You know what I'm saying? Launched different TV stations and radio stations across the continent of Africa, launched a TV station in Abu Dhabi and in Dubai. Used to go to China and do satellite distribution deals and content deals and everything else. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, if the purpose here is to just be here and to report to our community what we already know, the details change, but the end result we know, then I mean that's not full use of my potential, of my talent. You know what I'm saying? I'm a positive person, man. I wake up every day positive, optimistic, ready to get after it. But man, this shit's a lot. I just be honest, you know? And I feel like, I really tried to do my part for this city. Reported on a lot of things in the fairest way that we could, you know? And I just don't know if that's what I want to continue to do. I'll be honest with you. I think that if that Horace Mann said that basically you should be ashamed to die if you haven't if you should be ashamed to die if you haven't scored a victory for humanity. It's not the exact words, but it's something very similar. We should be ashamed to die if we haven't scored a victory for humanity. And I just need to see if this is the highest victory, or if this is the highest way or the best way that I can serve humanity in this moment. And I'm just not sure of that anymore.
Yeah. And rightfully so. Rightfully so. It has taken a real toll because we literally started just because we wanted to make sure that our community was informed about all of the resources around COVID. It was so much information. And, we were getting calls. Me and personally were getting calls about, well, do you know about this or do you know about that? Lots of our elders, scrambling in community, trying to figure things out on their own. And it was a call for that. And since then, we reported on so much tragedy for our people, so much violence towards our people, so much hate. It just permeates the airwaves all the time. It isn't easy to do as Black people, period. Every Black journalist out there, I feel you when you talk about this being traumatic, when you talk about having trauma, experiencing levels of PTSD, because you go home at night and the clips run through your head. They run through your head when you're supposed to be with your family, be with your babies, cooking dinner. And you're just like, once again, another Black person gone. Once again, another Black person discriminated against. Once again, the Blackness of our skin makes us an immediate threat to police, to those who do not like us. We're constantly showing that and dealing with it. So I understand. This has been tough, you guys.
Yeah. Anybody's followed my media career, I've never been out front or never even wanted to be the person on camera. Radio is my love. The radio all over the world, but this isn't, and never really, yeah. Like I said, I think that there's a greater way for me to serve humanity and to score some victories for humanity than sitting here every day and we talk about these things that we see here. We'll see, but there's no joy, and all I can say is I tried my best for the city. I've tried my best, and like I said, try my best to be fair, and now, these people don't know. It's like my legs fucked up from the protest. You know what I'm saying? Still got to go on the doctor, see what's going on with that. I got memory loss from all the flashbangs and everything else. A short-term memory loss. I get PTSD. I saw this shit out of Minneapolis last night. Other day, it just popped up on my screen. Jay Grabrot was here. you know? And I mean, man, police violence is real. You know what I'm saying? I don't wish that on nobody. I'm still dealing with the impact. I'll never talk about it on air. Still dealing with so many impacts of the Seattle protests. Physically, to my body. You know what I'm saying? I got some kind of burn in my eyes because contact lenses in, and some gas or spray they were using, and it burned under my lens and my eye. I got a scratch on my, man. It's crazy. Like we got our ass whooped. And these are the physical things. And then there's the mental things. You know? We try to remain positive through all of this, man. But, you know, like I said, we'll see. I think sometimes it's just important. You know, people, we need to just have real conversations on how we feel. And, you know, for me, when I talk about, you know, find our humanity and our dignity and our integrity and who we are, man, those aren't just cold words, man. I really believe that. I really want to find the best in humanity. I really want to do my part. And anyways, Trey Holiday.
We'll have to find our way to continue to do our part. This is as transparent and as real as we may have ever been. And you guys have seen us deal with stuff on camera now for over a year. And the truth is yeah, you know, it gets tough. And, you know, for me, I got to say, as I said earlier, you know, I'm always going into a real deep spiritual zone to continue on, because the importance of the truth being out there and being reflected through Black perspectives, us being authentically ourselves, has kept me going. Because the truth of the matter is that we know it's not happening in many spaces, period, point blank. Black voice around all of the things that we see on major media streams is oftentimes left out. Unless you're maybe following a particular person on Twitter or Instagram or something, and maybe you're getting some of their reactions. Maybe you're watching reaction videos on YouTube, or you're trying to find it. But we have been very consistent to be authentically ourselves every time we see more and more and more disparity, more and more hate against Black people. We've just been open and honest about who we are every single day. And that's really what's kept me going out there, y'all.
We're going to get out of here. You got anything to say, Trey?
Nah, man, this has been a real transparent day. And we need more than ever, desperately need everybody to become part of the solution, because we can't continue on like this. As a country, this just is not right. We have to have real change. We have to have people that are voicing their concerns, not just being entertained all the time, y'all. Let's all unplug from the matrix together, collectively. Let's do something. Let's be about the change we want to see in the world. Let's not wait for somebody else to do it, some savior, some Messiah. But it's you. You're the savior. You're the Messiah. Please get out there and do something.
All I can say is what I say every day. Go forward in your purpose. Go forward in your humanity. We're out of here.
Lift every voice and sing till earth in heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise as the listening skies. Let it resound. a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun.